my name is Allie Schmidt. This is my dad, Dan. He owns Caitlin's Glass.
Thanks, Allie. Things like doors and windows go into making a house. But when it's your home, you expect more, like the great service and selection you'll get from Caitlin's Glass. Vinyl replacement windows from Caitlin's come with a lifetime warranty, including accidental glass breakage replacement. Also ask for custom shower doors and many other products and services. Call 962-1636. Locally owned with local employees for nearly 30 years.
Caitlin's Glass, the clear choice.
Welcome to the BeTempered podcast, where we explore the art of finding balance in a chaotic world.
Join us as we delve into insightful conversations, practical tips, and inspiring stories to help you navigate life's ups and downs with grace and resilience.
We're your host, Dan Schmidt and
Ben Spahr.
Let's embark on a journey to live our best lives.
This is BeTempered.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the BeTempered podcast, episode number
40. Yes, sir.
The weather's changing. We went from the deep freeze to now we're just freezing to go back to the deep freeze.
Well, Matt and I will be in the deep freeze. You'll not be in the deep freeze.
Yeah, I'll be 100-degree temperature difference next week.
Yep.
I'll be thinking about you boys.
I'm sure you will.
So today I have a good friend who's here who's got a pretty cool story growing up in small town USA to opening up his own practice, running a business, has an amazing family and an amazing story. So we are happy to welcome Dr. Matt Roberts to the BeTempered podcast.
Thank you. Glad to be here, man.
Yeah, excited to have you. So Matt, you know how we do this. We always start off with telling your story about childhood and growing up. So give us a little background for those that don't know you.
Grew up in West Alexandria. My whole life, went to Twin Valley South. Great parents, had a older sister who was, she was a senior when I was a freshman, so she's 3 years older than me. So we actually got to go to high school together a little bit. Just great home, great family. My dad, kind of the school of hard knocks guy, and my mom was more the faith-based and, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. So my mom is that way, kind of spiritual. My dad is, if you don't do something, you're going to get it. And he kind of is one that pushed me in that direction.
Okay. So growing up in little West Alexandria, Ohio, played some sports?
Oh, yeah. Sports was a huge part of my life. I can remember my dad setting up the giant video camera in the backyard, and then pitching balls to me over and over and over, and then we'd go in and take the big VHS tape, put it in, and he would say, okay, see how you're stepping out, and then we'd go back and we'd do it again and again. So baseball was huge. Played basketball, and of course played football as well. That's the beauty of going to a smaller school. Got to play all the sports. Really ended up loving basketball. I was a better baseball player, way better baseball player, but we had some success in high school, and that kind of pushed me that direction. That's kind of where all of my really good friends, we were pretty tight and had a pretty good team. So it was a lot of fun.
You did, yeah. I was run and gun in high school. We're the same age. Yeah. Both graduated in '97, and you had a very talented group of young men playing basketball. There was a critical event during high school that happened with a car accident. So can you kind of talk about that a little bit?
Well, at first I thought you were talking about meeting my my high school sweetheart.
Well, you can talk about
critical event. That's a critical event.
That's probably the most
critical event. No, not to throw us off, but I met my wife, current wife, met her in high school, and we've dated high school sweethearts. And so I can remember I was a sophomore, and I came home and I said, hey, I'm dating the hottest girl in the freshman class, and pretty much dated all my sophomore year. I might have made a little mistake in breaking up with her during the summer to have some, to have some fun, go on vacation or something. And then my junior year got back together, and we it's history ever since. So, but yeah, the one thing that happened during high school is we had a great junior year, and so we were looking, our senior year was going to be even better. We were at a friend's house. We left the friend's house. It was weather about like it is now. Road was slick, and my friend just didn't make the turn on Shields Road, and hit in. And I thought, okay, it was a hard hit. We weren't going fast, but going into the ditch, into the culvert. And I thought, man, it was a hard hit. And then all of a sudden I felt the end of the car flip over. And then I saw my buddy, Chad Vorse, who was one of the best basketball players in the history of Twin Valley South, maybe Preble County, saw him flopping all around the car. And we had our seatbelts on, but flipped end over end twice and then rolled twice, landed on I guess 1.5 times ended up on the roof. And I look over, and he's laying there because the back of his seat broke off, and I'm hanging from my seatbelt. And, I thought he was knocked out, and I thought, oh my gosh, my friend's dead. So I unclipped the seatbelt, fall into the windshield. I had busted the side window out. Luckily, I got a hard head because I busted that out with my head, and there was a spot on the windshield where I hit too somehow. Staggered up to a house there on Shields Road, and the lady, because I was bleeding all over the place. When you get cut with glass, small little shards of glass, it was on my hand. I had a bad cut, but just bleeding everywhere. And I just said, I need blankets, which she thought, because I needed to cover. And all I could think of was getting out there and covering my friend up. So I got out there and covered him up. While I was hanging upside down, our other friends left, and they passed us. We were so far out in the field that they didn't even see us.
Oh, wow.
Because our lights were out. But, God was watching over us. Chad ended up with, broken collarbone, broken jaw from hitting the console. And I literally had cuts and some, a little bit of a concussion. Believe it or not, it was National Trail that I had to, that was the very next game, set out that game because I couldn't play. But the one thing I did bring is I brought a picture. So when they went to pick up the car, there were 2 of these in the car, in the field. His parents did not put these in the car. And I still have it, right?
Yeah.
And for those that can't or aren't watching or you're listening, it's a picture of Jesus, and what does it say?
Picture of Jesus, and it says, "I am with you always." So that was kind of a turning point in my life because I grew up in church. Mom took me to church. Dad took me to church, but I went to church.
Right.
I mean, I think we've all been there. I went to church.
Yeah.
Right.
And so it was kind of like, that was an eye opener for me that, hey, they literally, of course they don't know, but they said, you guys shouldn't be alive. And thank goodness you had your seatbelts on. So that was kind of a turning point for me to go, maybe I need to step back and look at my life, look at my faith. Now I was only 18 years old too. So you know how your brain works when you're 18.
You're invincible.
Right. But that was a big moment. And it was it's just cool because Chad still has his. I still got mine. And Chad was one of the most, one of the best examples. His dad's a pastor.
Yeah.
I never heard the guy say a cuss word all the way through sports.
Yeah. He
prayed before every meal. And so, when he saw that too, it's like, wow, thank goodness I got in a wreck with Chad at least,
So it changed your perspective a little bit.
100%.
As a young kid.
100%.
So what did it look like moving forward from there for you?
So I decided to play basketball, like I said. So I went to Wilmington College, Division III. I can remember going to some open gyms and, thinking, you think Division III, should be just fine. And then you have these guys that maybe weren't good enough to play at the D1 level, but they were tall, maybe not big enough, maybe not fast enough.
Yeah.
But they were really good athletes, or from maybe a smaller school, but they were player of the year in their conference. And so I knew right away, this is going to be a challenge for me because I wasn't even the best player on my own basketball team in high school.
Yeah.
I was the defensive juggernaut.
Mm-hmm.
I was, if something got a little rough, believe it or not, the little guy got pushed to the front, and they knew that I had their back. And
are you saying that maybe you threw some punches in high school?
No comment.
No comment. Maybe you know what? I never got a technical foul or any, and because I knew. Here's the other thing. That's why I got good grades, because I wanted to play sports. That's why I didn't get in a fight or anything, because at South, if you got a technical foul, you were out the rest of the game.
Okay.
And maybe the next game. That was the coach's rule.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to play.
Right.
So I was right on the edge.
Yeah.
I was right on the edge. I tried to get the other guy to hit me usually. Okay. But you know, that when I got to college, I thought, oh, this is it. This is it. First 2 scrimmages, first 11 games, 0 playing time. But I was also thinking, okay, I'm a freshman, right? Mm-hmm. So 12th game in Chicago. My parents went to every single game, even when I set the bench 100% of the time. And so they were in Chicago. I didn't think I was going to play in the tournament the next day. So I'm like, hey, can you take me to Michael Jordan's restaurant? So we actually go out. I probably stayed out a little bit past the curfew. And I remember the walkthrough the next day. Coach was like, Robert, do you know this? Do you know that? I'm like, I've been at every practice.
Right. Yeah.
I'm a straight A student. Like, I think I know. Next game, I played, I didn't start, but I played 28 minutes. And then from there, I started to start and play. And, but, now you're really excited about it. And, I think and people start coming to watch you play that locally when we had home games. But I think the one lesson I learned from that is that you can't allow something that's outside to bring you the joy, right?
Right.
Because you're always if you focus on that as what brings you joy and satisfaction, and that's the only thing, it was running my life. So it was, if I played well and I got to play, man, I was happy. If I didn't, I wasn't fun to be around. I felt bad for my girlfriend Izzy at the time. And so it didn't go exactly the way I wanted it to, because it was very, and I won't get into the details, but I basically got in a fight with my coach. So you talk about that, like physical, because he was physical. Yeah. So I called my dad. My dad said, I said, what do I do? Hit him back. That was my dad.
Yeah.
That was my dad when I was 6 years old. Mm-hmm. That was my same. So, long story short, went to junior year, sophomore year, I did punch somebody, got kicked out against Mount St. Joe's. Never, won't go into details, right. But again, I punched a guy and got kicked out, should have gotten kicked out. And coach never said a word to me. Nothing. And looking back as an adult, it's like, man, the coach should have ripped me and made an example in front of the team. But instead we had a tournament game against Anderson the next game. And because the commissioner ruled it a flagrant foul, not a flagrant fight, mm-hmm. I got kicked out that game, but I got to play the next game. 28 minutes that game I played.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
So no discipline from that?
Nope, no discipline from that. Go out my junior year, and honestly, it was a rough year, because he would play you a game and then sit you out the entire game and never give you a reason why. So I didn't really want to play, but I played for my parents, my dad, because they supported me. Went out, and when you're an athletic training major, so I majored in athletic training, sports management, you have to cover sports. So I was covering football. You cover a different one your junior year every month, so you get experience. Covering sports, but I was doing everything that was, non-mandatory. And honestly, I was in the best shape of anyone on the team. So it comes down to the first scrimmage. And at a small school like that, a lot of people come out to that first scrimmage so they can see what the team's going to be like. And you also get a ton of new recruits in, as you know, every year. There might be 15 freshmen that come in. They may not all make it, but 15 freshmen. But I figured, okay, I'm going to be a junior. 28 minutes in the most important game of the season last year. We played 3 20-minute halves with 6 minutes to go. In the third 20-minute half, he told me to go in after he played every single person on the bench. So at that point, I had to make a decision. I'd never quit anything in my life, and I just kind of looked at him and said, no. I said, I'm not your practice dummy. So again, that's probably more than what I wanted to share about that. But I went to the coach the next day. He didn't really approach me. I went to him and explained and said, I appreciate the opportunity and the things that I got to do. I mean, we got to go to a Bulls game at the United Center, see Jordan and Rodman and Pippen. So that was cool, right? Yeah. Made great friends. I still talk to them. When you play in Preble County, you don't have a lot of times where you can throw the ball in the air and someone goes up and dunks it, right? Yeah. And so that was kind of neat going. So I don't regret any of that. I don't even hold a grudge against that coach because he taught me some lessons. I mean, it was tough and you had to get through it.
Do you regret the decision of quitting?
I do not, because all kidding aside, I think we had a intramural team that could have maybe beat the basketball team. And I shouldn't say that because the guys that stayed and played, but there were a lot that happened. And that happens, I think, at the Division III level too, because you're not under scholarship. And my scholarship was all academic. Yeah. And that was my focus. And I knew at that point I wanted to go into chiropractic. Yeah. So, I don't regret that because I focused on my grades. I worked some and just had a blast in college. Yeah, just had fun and finished out and ended up basically having one class that I got to be in my whole college.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Did Izzy go to Wilmington too?
No, Izzy. This was kind of a decision, and again, I switched churches because there was a pretty girl that went to Eaton First Church of God. So I went there because, and honestly, the youth group was amazing there. We had a blast. I mean, I didn't go because I wanted to at first, and or I just went because it was fun and there was a pretty girl. And then after I got into it, you start to it permeates you, right? You start to like, it's fun to go do some of these things, but it's also amazing to do our devotional. And now I'm learning some things. And so honestly, Izzy and I decided kind of together that she went to Wright State and I stayed at Wilmington because temptation is tough. Yeah. I was pretty disciplined, and I've talked to Dan before about this. I never drank a single drop. And so I said I had fun. I went to every party. Yeah. Every party. Yeah.
Probably the life of the party.
I tried. I tried. And, I went out. I mean, so all the time, but I never drank. But I will say temptation for me would have been having my girlfriend on campus.
Right. Yeah.
So there, I always said that those were my weaknesses, that, and then, getting in a fight or something, Right. But yeah, so no, I didn't regret it. And, that kind of led me on to where,
Well, and I think what's unique when you first told me that story, we competed against each other in high school and all those things, but, we didn't really kind of rekindle our friendship here until, I don't know, the last 5 years, I would say. But, as we've told each other stories about high school and college and about all these things, when you told me this story about when you were at Wilmington and going through, the challenges of basketball and the coaches and all those different things, that's where you learn the most about yourself, right? Is through those trying, difficult times. And I think that's what a lot of people lose today is when things get tough in the beginning, they instantly quit. Yeah. Well, you could have quit your freshman year when you weren't playing for the first 10 games and your parents were, well, why were you doing it, right? But you went through it. You went through all those difficult things and look at what you learned from it. Yeah. I mean, like I said, and I went through all of the conditioning. Yeah. So it's not like I got there and like, oh man, there's 15 freshmen. I quit. I really was doing it for my dad, but I think one of the things is I don't think you'll be defined by those wins and losses.
you're more defined by your grit and resilience, and then how you respond to. So I didn't just go sit and do nothing after I quit basketball. I focused on my school, and then I lifted. I still lifted like crazy. I played basketball. I played, we had the Bombers intramural softball team that was amazing. So we had a blast. I mean, it was, it's just something where going through that, you've talked about it before, going through tough times is what makes you stronger for sure.
Yeah, for sure. So you said you had already made up your decision. You were going to go into chiropractic. Why and how? What made you go to that direction?
So a couple stories. My grandpa was seeing a chiropractor, my dad's dad, and they did an X-ray on his back, and the chiropractor was the one that found his aneurysm. He had an abdominal aneurysm, and they were able to fix that. Not the chiropractor, but they were able to. He diagnosed it, and I thought that's pretty cool. And I was never a kid to take medication. I didn't like it. If I had pain, I wasn't one grabbing like, hey, can I get a, Advil or Tylenol? It was, just tough through it or give me some ice. I like the idea of like more natural healing. My uncle, was a huge influence as well because he was a chiropractor in Eaton. He practiced over 50 years. Hurt my knee in football. I weighed like, 57 pounds and I'm trying to drag guys around. And I remember it, got my knee injured and I went to him. My mom took me to my uncle and, he adjusted my knee. My knee was like 3 times the size of my other knee and he adjusted my knee. And within about an hour, it was close to the same size as my other knee. Now, did it still hurt? 100%. The ligament was still sprained. The ligament was still damaged, but the swelling went out immediately. And I'm like, this is like magic. Like this is crazy. Then when I was at Wilmington, I got the opportunity to do an internship with Dr. Bruce Brown in Bellbrook. Him and I hit it off right away. We like to work out. We love sports. He's a go-getter. He's got a, kind of, he likes to talk to personality, like kind of very similar. Right. And so I show up, for my, interview with him to do this internship. And I was the first intern that he had, and Wilmington was doing this with different professions and you could get your hours that way. And I had like dress pants and a coat and a tie and everything. And I walk in and they put me in his office and he's treating patients. He walks in and he just laughs because I looked like Doogie Howser. And I can remember him laughing at me because like I was so dressed up. But I'm like, hey, this is serious, right? Like I'm going to be professional, which I think is missing somewhat today.
Oh yeah.
But anyways, that started that relationship. I did my internship hours like immediately, very quick, and then he's like, hey, you got to work for me, like And so I said, you mean, he said, yeah, the whole summer. So I drove from West Alexandria to Bellbrook pretty much every day and worked for him. And that was great because I got to see what it was like in the office, got to see, him do some amazing things with patients, learned a lot and learned how to interact with people.
Yeah.
Because that's honestly the biggest thing is, yes, you have to be good at what you do. But with my profession, if you can't interact with people and show them that you care, it just won't go over very well. And he had that, and so did my uncle had that as well. So anyways, that kind of sparked it. And then, once I saw those things, I knew I wanted to be a chiropractor. Because, a lot of people, we were joking earlier, they'll say, why didn't you go to be a real doctor? Or why didn't you go to be an orthopedic? And I say, my answer is usually because I didn't want to.
Yeah.
And this is not a cocky statement, but I think I could have. I know I could have.
Right.
My mentality and then my study habits and things. I think I could have done whatever I wanted to do, but that is what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
So I went on to chiropractic school.
And you did that in St. Louis?
Yeah. So Logan College of Chiropractic. That's in St. Louis, Missouri. It's actually in Chesterfield. So if you tell people that, you live in West County, they think you're like a movie star or an athlete, but I lived in an apartment in West County. But it was a pretty cool area because we saw Kurt Warner at the grocery store. We saw Marshall Falk at Uno's. Jeez. I met Stan Musial. But that was an odd thing because, I'm from Preble County. I went an hour and a half away for college. And then I remember getting my own apartment. And then I remember my mom and my dad and Izzy leaving. And I'm on the balcony, and it was like, I have no friends. Hadn't started school yet. Don't know anybody. Never been in a bigger city like that. Yeah. I mean, we were in the suburb, but still in the big city. And I remember sitting on my couch going, what did I just do? Yeah. But I've always liked school, which sounds weird, but and I don't mean I love going to, microbiology class. No, but because of the interaction with people, making friends, even when I was younger, I didn't want to miss elementary school because I wanted to go to recess and I wanted to be with my friends. So the school part, once that started, made some amazing friends. I actually had to because I didn't plan very well, I actually had to do organic chemistry 1 and 2 and physics 1 and 2 all in one semester as an accelerated program so I could start the chiropractic school.
That makes me nauseous.
Yeah.
Even thinking about it.
Yeah, that was rough.
So another cool story that you've told me is through chiropractic school, you worked as a valet. Parking cars, right? Yeah. Talk about that a little bit. That's pretty cool.
So it's funny because I worked at the school some. I worked for a chiropractor helping cover football games because I was an athletic trainer. I got my ATC, and although I wasn't licensed in Missouri, but I could still cover stuff for him under him. I don't know why I did construction, but there was these amazing homes, really older homes, almost like in Oakwood or whatever. Yeah. And so I would go in, and I was basically the demo man, and I would help demo and carry buckets down the stairs and sweep and do all that. And like I said, I worked at my apartment complex, but then I got guys at school were talking about, hey, you should work for August Evenings. I'm like, August Evenings? They're like, yeah, it's like AE parking. And I'm like, what's that? And they're like, valet. I'm like, ooh, right up my alley because I love cars. So I, and you could call in. You'd call in, and it's probably my second favorite job ever, other than what I'm doing now. Yeah. And I remember my first job, called in, and they put us at a private party, and private parties are usually at someone's home, which then you have to transfer the cars down and then someone brings you back. So first car I get in is a Porsche Boxster, and I'm like, oh, this is awesome. So I open up the door, and I hammer it about a quarter of a mile down, and then park it, and then these people, you'd bring their car back, and then they give you like $10 and you're like, oh, this is amazing, right? But the funny thing is my buddy Mike and I, so Mike's like my best friend from chiropractic school. That guy I could count on. Yeah. I mean, I could call him tonight and he would be at my house. He was actually a scout sniper in the Marines. Oh, wow. Now chiropractor. So, but anyways, we would use it as a workout too. So like when someone would come out and give us their ticket, I mean, we would sprint. A dead sprint, get to the car, boom, they'd see us sprinting. And so we would end up, they're like, what do you guys, we were like the only two that would do that. And so we would do that. There was one party where we worked a private residence, and I walked off the front of the house. It was over 100 yards. The front, he owned like Charter Communications, and he sold it. They had caricature drawer. They had a magician. Jeez. They had a Marilyn Monroe impersonator from Tennessee, Elvis impersonator from Kentucky at the party. The party, yeah. And it was crazy. And then they let us come in and eat. And we weren't getting any tips because it's all at once, party, Yeah. And it was, so we were running. And I'm like, gosh, man, we're not getting any tips. And then the guy comes out afterwards. First of all, he let us go in and eat food, which was really cool because it was a huge spread. And then he comes out afterwards. He says, "Oh, you guys did a great job." And he hands us an envelope with all cash in it and a good amount. And it's like, yes. So we try to get that party every time. But, you know, you couldn't work a regular job while you were in school because it was almost like being back in high school because you would go at 7:30 in the morning and be done at 4. So it was like a job, but also got to work. You guys with sports are like this. I got to work the Traveling Hall of Fame. So they did this at the history museums, like they did it in Cincinnati. They did it all over. So any baseball player that was in the Hall of Fame, they would do a traveling Hall of Fame. So we get there and there's the back with all of the, you know, if you guys showed up, that's where you guys would park and they would valet you. And then the front was the players. And I told the supervisor, I said, I'll do the players. I'll do the front. I said, me and Mike, you know, we know the players. He's like, you know him? I'm like, I'll know him. So it was awesome because I got to park like, you know, Ozzie Smith, Red Shandings, Stan Musial, trying to think, Lou Brock, all these old timers. And then when they came back out, and I got my red AE parking jacket on, you know, and they come back out and I'd sprint, get their car, open up the door, and then they would go to hand me a tip. And I pulled out a pen and a baseball and I got their signatures on separate baseballs and then they'd still give me a tip. So it was amazing. Awesome. It was amazing.
You still have them?
I still, yeah, I still have them. Yeah,
real entrepreneur.
Yes, sure. That's right.
For sure.
That's right.
So you get through chiropractic school. What's next?
So while I was in chiropractic school, Dr. Brown approached me and said, "Hey, I'm building an office." I'm like, okay. When I came back for Christmas break, and he said, I want you to come in with me. And so that was almost like a no-brainer because, you know, we're really close with family. So moving back to Ohio was probably in the cards anyways, even though, you know, looking back while I was in chiropractic school, I got engaged in St. Louis when we were looking for an apartment. And then a year later got married while I was in school. And so looking back, it was like, this is what we want to do. We want to move back. I mean, Izzy got a job before she graduated. That doesn't happen.
Right.
So she came out and interviewed on spring break and got a great job. So what would have held us there would have been our friends and Izzy's job, because I could have practiced anywhere.
Yeah.
But all of our friends went like Hawaii, Kentucky, Arkansas, North Carolina, Cleveland. I mean, so all of our friends were mostly from school there. So they all moved out. But Dr. Brown wanted me to come in. So then the decision was, what does that look like? Do I go in? Am I going to work for you? Am I going to be like more of an independent contractor? And so we decided kind of together that I would go in as I wanted to have my own business.
Yeah. And
so, and he's the same way. So I don't know how well that would have worked if I would have worked for him. But then, you know, so I will tell you, I got a little boat for graduation of chiropractic school, a small boat. And my friend Mike and I, one of the best things we ever did, we graduated in April. We could not take our Ohio test. We passed our national boards, 4 parts of national boards, but we couldn't practice until probably the middle of June. Plus, Izzy was still working, and then Mike's wife, Sarah, was still finishing school. So literally every day we went fishing from April till from May to June.
Yeah.
You know, probably not the best business decision to start prepping, right. But I will tell you what, I'll never forget that. And then we had a little video camera, and I wish YouTube was big because our videos are amazing. Man.
Put them on there now.
Oh, if we'd have got caught by the DNR though, we would catch fish like this big and then like put them in the live well, this little live well, and then at the end we'd say what we caught and we're like, yeah, we caught some bait, and we'd throw it in the. I mean, it was so silly, but I think it would have went over well. But yeah, so I ended up going in with Dr. Brown. He gave me, you know, he set me up very, very well. He, you know, because he could have pinned me down with, you know, hey, this is what your rent's going to be. But it was almost like a signing bonus. He helped me out, not as in pay, but with rent, and basically gave me rent free for a while. He said, that he wanted to help get me going. And so he was very well known in Bellbrook. He'd been there, I don't know how long he'd been there at that time, probably 15 to 20 years, about where I'm at now, I would say, close to it in practice. And it was a blessing because everyone knew Dr. Brown. It was a curse because everyone knew Dr. Brown.
Yeah.
So I was going to every game. I don't know anybody, but I'm going to all types of games. If I could speak at any event, I was going to the schools. I was going to churches. I was going to, all over the place, right? And a lot of times I'd be at the football game like, oh, you work for Dr. Brown or for Bruce. And I'm like, no, I work with him. And they're like, oh, I'm like, yeah. So like, oh, well, I see Bruce. And then I'd go to the next person. Hey, how you doing? I'm Matt Roberts. Oh yeah, you're with Bruce. I see Bruce. I mean, it was like, yeah. I'm like, okay, is there anybody that doesn't see this guy? Right.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to figure out. So I joined 2 networking groups. And the one you had to kind of pay for. So I would go to it and then like kind of go to another one that was the same brand of networking group. So I didn't have to pay. I could keep going back and forth. Cause to be honest with you, I went to go get a business plan. I had this business plan. It was beautiful. I mean, it showed exactly how successful I was going to be. I had it all written out, and I remember going to a couple banks, and I had this, in a binder, and it was beautiful. And so I get to the bank, and they're like, "Oh, okay, good." And they're like, "Okay, so how much are you making now?" I'm like, none, not. But look, I'm going to, and I could never get a business loan.
Yeah.
So once again, I really think that was kind of God looking out for me from not getting in too much debt, because I was already in a ton of debt from school. Mm-hmm. Luckily, I had a really good scholarship at Wilmington, and my parents helped me with my undergrad, that what I didn't get in scholarship. And then the other thing is, believe it or not, Izzy getting married, some of my friends had to pay for everything with their loans, meaning food, apartment, books, school, whatever, right? At least we had Izzy's teacher salary, which covered a lot of our living expenses. And then I literally had to just kind of take out money for school. But I didn't have any money. I was, and so then I was looking to get one table, right? I need one table to adjust people on. And luckily something happened, and they didn't have the table in that I wanted. So the guy gives me, that I get my tables from, he gives me a loaner. He said, well, until we get that in, till they get that made. And so it just kept getting delayed, but I was seeing. Now, granted, on my first day, I saw a whopping 1 patient. 1.
So your back's against the wall, really.
100%. And it's make or break, right? So then I broke down, like I said, I couldn't cover high school because they had people covering high school. So I would go to the junior high. I covered junior high sports, wrestling, football as the team doctor. The problem is too, I wore shirt and tie and everything because I looked like I was 17 years old. And so that was a struggle too. I remember having a patient walk in, and she said, I walked in and she said, where's the doctor? And I said, I'm the doctor. I'm even wearing a white coat, and she's asking, right? and
Doogie Howser.
That's right, man. And she's like, and literally this was tough too, because this is when I'm looking for patients. I literally had to say, okay, she wasn't having it. I went and got Dr. Brown, and he saw her. Really? And it was a new patient, and every new patient was huge then.
That's a gut check.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And that was hard to swallow, man. I'm like, gosh, how do I get through some of these, obstacles? So then another thing that I did that was extremely humbling was, let me backtrack just a little bit. We had problems at that office getting a sign because of zoning. The zoning board was being really, really, and it's not like we were putting up anything different. It's just the rules had changed. and we wanted grandfathered in. They wanted to put it in the middle of our parking lot, which then would have taken up 2 or 3 parking spots and people would have run into it. But for Dr. Brown,
didn't matter.
Well, yeah, it wasn't that big of a deal. For me, I'd be like, hey, hey, Ben, nice to meet you. My office is, on the corner of, Sugar Creek and North Lakeman. It's in between the dentist and the daycare. So if you see a really nice building, there's not a sign, but that's where we're at, right? So that was tough. I mean, I went to those meetings and I pleaded too. Dr. Brown was the main, because he's the owner. Him and his wife own the building. But so I was like, all right, I would tell the girls, hey, I have my flip phone on me. Give me a call. I'm going out and doing some stuff. A lot of times I wouldn't tell them what I was doing. So I would go to neighborhoods and I made up these little, I'd have business cards and I had made up these little pamphlets and I went door to door. And you talk about humbling experience. Some people literally they would slam the door in your face. And that was rough because I'm literally, and then other people are like, wait a minute, you're the doctor and you're walking door to door. And I just tried to explain to them like, I'm trying to get my name out there. I want people to know me. I want you to know what I do. And, did I get 50 patients from that? No, but I actually did get a couple and that encouraged me to keep going. And I realized as well that once I had that patient in the office, I had to deliver. Yeah. Like I had to deliver not just like, hey, this is a nice guy, right? They had to get better. They had to get well. Yeah. Right. So I really, really, really worked on my skills and my diagnosis so that when I did have a patient, it was going to, they were going to be my bird dog. They were going to go door to door for me rather than me having to do that. But looking back, I don't know that I would have it any other way because it's like there is a little bit of pride in building it up versus going in and just having it handed to you. Oh yeah. Because then you I don't know, you remember where you came from, right? Yeah. A little bit. Because what do they say? Everybody wants to eat, but few will hunt. That's right. Right? Yeah. So everybody wants to eat, but few are going to go out there and hunt. And I was hunting and I was hunting and I was hunting and I was hunting. And, there were times where, I'd be sitting in my office and my mind's just going, Izzy said it's a bipolar profession when I started because there'd be days where, oh man, I saw 10 patients, the whole day. And I'm excited. And then the next day I would have, 6 on the books and 3 of them would cancel. And 3 patients in a matter of like 8 to 10 hours. And I was far enough away from home that I couldn't go home for lunch and stuff. So now I've got, that break in between. So, I'm lifting, working. We had a gym in a basement. I would work out and then I would go like, all right, what am I going to do? So I'd go to Kohl's and like look for, I literally would look for like the clearance shirts so I could go get my logo put on them. So I'd find shirts for like $2 and then I had someone put the logo on them. So then I'd give someone a t-shirt, but I had to do it like in increments because I just didn't have, $1,000 to go throw out and say, hey, I'm going to give these t-shirts. Yeah. So just a lot of, but again, like I say that, but it was hard work, but that stuff is worth it. Oh,
yeah. I mean, as you're talking, it's reminding me of similar things that I had to do when I first bought the business and all the challenges and the difficulties and the financial stress and then the customer coming in a lot of struggles, but it shows your determination. It shows that it doesn't matter what the challenge is, you're going to take it head on. And I think that's where we learn the most about ourselves. So, yeah, and that's been, we can laugh about it, but like, that's been me. I didn't weigh 100 pounds when I went to high school. I've not been the biggest guy, the strongest guy. So in sports, like we talked about, is a huge thing. So it was like, all right, Roberts is going to run his head through a wall to help the team. Mm-hmm. And I think I've always been a team guy. That's why I didn't do a lot of individual sports because man, it's so fun to win as a team. Yeah. And, it's fun to see other
other people succeed. And I've been very fortunate to have, like I said, great parents, my sister, great sister growing up, now I have, my in-laws and, that are great. Of course, my wife and, even my friends, like I had really good friends in high school. I mean, I just told you I never drank. None of them ever did either. In college, yeah, they drank, but great friends in college. I mean, that I know, again, I could call. Chiropractic school. I've had mentors with like my uncle through chiropractic and then Dr. Brown. And then I have Mark King, who is, he's got an amazing practice down in Cincinnati, Mount Lookout Chiropractic. Then I was in a club while I was in school that we adjusted. Now, I don't know if I'll get in trouble for this now. I don't think so. But I mean, we started adjusting before I even got in chiropractic school because of guys like Brett Winchester. This guy's phenomenal, right? He's out in Missouri, travels all over, just great mentors. But, I remember going home on my second semester and I brought for Thanksgiving, I brought my portable table because you had weird parties in chiropractic school because you had no money. So you couldn't really go out. So we would play board games and cards, but then everyone had a table in their apartment. So it's like, hey, lay down, let's try this. So we're practicing on each other, right? Practicing adjusting, on each other. But yeah, but having all those mentors to teach you. And I remember going home on Thanksgiving and I adjusted over 50 people in my second semester. You're not supposed to adjust people until your seventh semester.
Jeez.
But I was going to club. It sounds weird, like you go into an adjusting club, but it's a motor skill. Yeah. So I did it over and over and over and over, and I talk about my friends and my mentors, and there's a scripture in 1 Corinthians that says, don't be misled. Bad company corrupts good character. And I'm like, that sticks to me like, okay, who you're around, whether it's business, whether it's friendship, whether it's faith, makes a big difference. And I try to pass that on to my family, which I haven't even got into my family. Gosh.
No, you're good.
You're doing awesome.
You're doing great.
Yeah.
No, this is great. I mean, when I think of Matt Roberts, I think of determination and enthusiasm. And you have shown that to this point in your life with where you're at in your story. So you're married to Izzy, you're at Dr. Brown, but at some point in time you make the decision that, hey, it's time for me to do my own thing. Talk about that.
So first of all, life changes, right? So you think you got it all planned out, which I had a plan, like even with getting married. I mean, all right, Izzy, you're going to get through school and you're going to get married and we're going to get married and then I'm going to finish school and then we're going to, we had it all planned out and then we're going to have kids. So talking about
family,
kids.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that was a struggle.
Yeah.
But we had it planned out and I felt like Izzy and I did it the right way. All growing up. We made decisions to, that's the only girl I've ever really dated, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And I don't regret that one bit. Some people are like, oh my gosh, only one woman, one girl. It's, to me, you know what, at this stage in my life, I'm like, yep, super proud of it too. Mm-hmm. More people should do that, right?
It's amazing, yeah.
And so, man, we just couldn't have kids. And honestly, one of the biggest things I wanted to be was a dad.
Yeah.
Just wanted to be a dad.
Yeah.
Because of my enthusiasm, man. Like, I love kids. And that's one reason why I coach. I've been doing coaching because I just love being around kids. And so, man, we just couldn't. And then finally, she gets pregnant. And twins. So it was awesome, man. I was and see, that's kind of where that switch, because as you guys know, you both have kids, your priorities change when you have kids.
Yep.
I didn't care what time I got home when I didn't have kids. I didn't care what time I ate dinner because I was out like, hey, Izzy, sorry, I'm going to the football game and I'm meeting people. I'm going to a networking meeting at 5 a.m. and I stayed out all the time. Right. But once you have kids, it's like, ooh, and then you might need help with you want your parents around them. So we have twins, amazing twins, Eva and Mila. you know? And so that's one of the biggest like accomplishments, you know, love it in my life. Right.
Yeah. And
so she, you know, Izzy actually was, gained like 6 or 7 pounds in a day, the day before she had him. And they were like, and she was having swelling, and we just said, but she's petite. And so the doctors just kind of said, well, it's because she's small. You got twins. So they were going to induce her on a Tuesday, and which we were disappointed in because I'm a chiropractor. I want everything natural. I want it all, you know, done this way. Well, her water breaks the next morning. I'm on the couch because she has 75 pillows in the bed, and I just wanted to get one more good night's rest. Right. And, my phone rings, and before it could ring a second time, I was at the top of the stairs, and she's on my water break. My water broke. I'm like, yes. All right, let's go. And I have, if you know me about like my cars and stuff, I have trash bags over the seat. I have for this trip to the hospital. Right. I mean, I've got it all. Yeah. So, but then she's like, I got to get ready. And I'm like, no, we got to go. So I'm making this too long, but,
it's good.
We get there, and I mean, this is like 5 something in the morning. We get there 8:53 and 9:01. I've got twins. And a cool thing is, which people maybe won't understand, but I adjusted them in the delivery room as soon as they were born, which was a cool experience to do for my kids. So things are going well, but I remember that night, I mean, Izzy did great. And I remember that night, though, she started coughing. And like, what the heck? You know, what's up with that? It's like, I don't know, you know.
This is before, she's in labor or after the girls are born?
Yeah, they're born, and we're, you know, I'm learning to change a diaper, and they were actually in the room with us. They didn't, I mean, 5'6" and 5'10", 38 and a half weeks she went, and they were 5'6" and 5'10", so super healthy babies. Probably the most beautiful babies ever, guys. So, but anyways, you know, she's coughing, and then she started swelling again, a little like her feet and stuff. And they're like, oh, you know, just keep your feet up. And so 36 hours after, they said, we're going to keep you one more night, because we were trying to make sure, because, you know, with twins and stuff, girls were perfectly good. Like I said, never went to the NICU, and, you know, and I'm helping Izzy up to the restroom, and boom, she flatlines. Like, she just collapses, and I catch her, and I mean, I hit that button, and it was the most wild thing. I mean, they had those babies out of the room, wheeling her down the hallway, and you know, they said, well, you know, was it maybe pneumonia? They did, like, they knew that she had fluid on her lungs and stuff. And so, long story short, she had peripartum cardiomyopathy, which means she had heart failure. She had none of the risk factors other than the fact that she had twins. So here I am, the best moment of my life that I've been waiting for. And then my wife is about to die.
Yeah. Most terrifying.
Yeah. And, you know, she was in the ICU, and I can just remember, you know, just praying, you know, don't let me have two beautiful babies and no mom. Right. So, and I remember the worst part is Izzy asked me, am I going to die? And I said, no, you're not, you know, and that showed, you know, and now guess what? God's watch over. She's not on any medication. She recovered like 100%. She has no heart problems. So once again, there's a struggle. Well, that again changed my perspective of what is important.
Yeah.
And so that I started to shift back to the business side of things. I got an opportunity or was asked to cover Twin Valley South football. Oh yeah. So cover Twin Valley South football. But to me, I'm like, you know, this is an opportunity. And I guess to backtrack a little bit, 3 years into practice, I approached my uncle, and that's how I got into Eaton. He was only in his office 3 days a week. And I was really busy and built a good practice in Bellbrook, but you know, just not a totally full schedule like Dr. Brown seeing all these people. So I thought, well, what if I did both? And I kept praying, open a door or close a door.
Yeah.
So if a door closes, then I'll know, or if a door opens, I'll know. And I'm in a meeting at the medical center, and Dr. Jill, some people know Dr. Jill Foster. She was in that meeting. They said, well, can you do this? And I said, sure, I can do it. My only concern is on Fridays, I might have a tough time getting back to West Alexandria in time for the start of the game. And she said, why don't you practice full time in Eaton? I said, well, there's not enough space in my uncle's office for us both to be there. And she said, well, why don't you practice here at the medical center? And I just was like, I didn't know that was even an option. There are 0 chiropractors within Kettering Health Network buildings. I don't know that there are any within Miami Valley. I'm not sure there are any in Reed over here. So that was not even on the radar. About a week later, emails, meetings, and we're talking about building out an office, and the rest is history there. And I built the office thinking, oh my gosh, what am I doing? Because once again, I had 2 tables in the therapy suite. I had two adjusting tables, nobody in one office, nothing in 2 of the treatment rooms, nothing in the room that we have the massage therapist now. And I thought, what am I doing here? This is way too big and now I'm like, why didn't I make it bigger? Why didn't I make it bigger? So that's kind of, that door opened. And then at that point, and that was a tough conversation with Dr. Brown, because I felt like, he was a huge mentor of mine. I felt like I was letting him down. But the awesome thing is, like, at first it was, you could tell. I mean, anybody who, like, I've lost employees that have been very good employees. Yeah. And although I wasn't an employee there, I was a colleague of his, and he thought I was going to, buy his practice and take it over. And that was my plan originally. Yeah. I had so it wasn't like I ever had this other in mind. And, so you're happy for him, but man, you're like, oh, I hate to lose that person. Right. So at first, but now, I just, was talking to him over Christmas, and just, we were saying how awesome it's worked out for him and for myself, So, when a door open, it's like, if you don't go through it, you might suffer a consequence. Yeah. And if I was, if you don't really want it, you better not pray for it.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah. So be careful what you pray for.
Absolutely.
But so now you open your own practice, but now you got employees, right? That's a whole different ball game than just running a practice at Dr. Brown's office, right?
Yes.
Talk about that.
Well, because honestly, I was an independent contractor. I had my own practice, but I didn't deal with. That's what and I told him later on down the road, like, oh, I didn't understand. When you were in not the best mood because I came in and said, hey, such and such quit, and it's like, can you get somebody else, right? Like and that's what happens is it's like on the other side of it, you think like, oh, just find somebody else, man, or fix this or whatever. But when it's on you, it's totally different. And, you're trying to find the right person, because when I'm interviewing, I always tell them, like, the biggest thing for me is that you're coachable, trainable, and that you're trustworthy. If you're coachable, trainable, and you're trustworthy, and you've got a good attitude, I can train you and you'll be amazing, right? But that trust, and then, nowadays there's just not, I've been very fortunate, but there's not a lot of loyalty either. So having that, and, so I've been incorporating some of that into my staff meetings in my practice now, of some different characteristics that I'm looking for in my office staff, and that's been challenging. And then I added in another Dr. Adam Pittsinger, and that I wasn't ready for that, but he actually was not in a great situation. And so that moved much quicker than expected. But and there's been bumps in the road with all of it, right?
Oh yeah.
And, but we've, hit it head on, and with the right attitude, and not always doing things right.
Right.
Don't get me wrong. Like, that's not for sure. I'm not doing everything right all the time, but, it's almost like when you look back, it's kind of fun, but when you're going through it, man, it's terrible. Yeah, it's terrible.
It is.
Yeah.
It's challenging. It's challenging. So as we start to land this plane a little bit, and as you tell this story, you know, we talked when I asked you to be on the podcast. You're like, man, I don't know. I got this story. Really, dude? Like, your story's amazing. You know, all these things that happen in your life to put you to where you're at today. And that's the whole point of the podcast is that everybody's got a story. And people that don't know you, that look at you now and they say, he's got this beautiful wife, beautiful daughters, you know, athletic, you know, physically fit, doing all the right things. He never had a hard day in his life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's what it's all about, is you telling your story. So I'm grateful for you doing that. I want to end it with 2 questions. Last 2 questions. Number 1, if you could sit on a park bench and you could have a conversation with anyone living or deceased, which I steal this from John Lowe Leary, you know that.
Yes.
Who would it be and why?
Man, I didn't think you were going to ask that question.
That's why I said it.
Yeah, that's good. To be real honest with you, Jesus.
Yeah.
And I know that probably, and that's just a cliche, but like, you know, I would love to sit down and talk to him and say why.
Yeah.
You know, because why do I deserve what you did? And man, how'd you do that? Right? Like, how did you do that? How did you live a perfect life? And then take the torture and the torment and turn it into something beautiful for everybody else. Right. So it might sound cliche. It's not, you know, people don't think that's a real person. That is a real person.
Yes.
And so if I could sit down, man, that would think about how many questions you could have answered if you had Jesus sitting beside you. Yeah. So yeah, you could have Einstein, you could have, you know, Martin Luther King Jr., you could have, you know, George Washington, you know, obviously you also think about family members as well. So don't get me wrong, man, I would love to talk to my grandparents again.
Yeah.
You know, I would love to do that, but man, if I'm going to look for all the answers, he could tell me how they're doing.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
So that's who it'd be.
Yeah. So all those times you've had that have been challenging, you know, high school accident, you know, the challenges in college, the chiropractic school, the challenges with Izzy and the pregnancy and what you went through there, the challenges in running a business when things are tough and you think of a quote or you think of a Bible verse that gets you through those times. What is that?
So I know you asked this question, so I kind of did prepare, but this is my verse, which is not the normal verse. So it's James 1, verse 2 through 4. And the first part is, consider it pure joy, my brothers, when you face trials of many kinds. So think about that, right? It doesn't say like pout. It doesn't say pity me. And it doesn't even say be happy. It says, consider it pure joy when you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith will produce perseverance. Mm-hmm. The last part is, let perseverance finish its work, so that you are mature and complete, not lacking anything. So if you put that together, it's like, gosh, man, when I'm going through tough times, man, I gotta be happy about it. It's not necessarily that you're like, oh, yippee, right? I'm super happy, but that's going to make you stronger. It's going to develop perseverance. Then once you let perseverance do its work and you work through it, it can help you be more mature in whatever you're doing, you know, complete, whole. And so that's a verse that that sticks with me and that I utilize. I've utilized, honestly, probably since college. Yeah. You know, and so that would be the one. I guess if it's not a Bible verse, there was an old proverb, not a proverb. I think it's a Chinese proverb or something, where it says, it talks about 3 things that never come back. Okay. Time, words, and opportunity. And so when you think about that, you know, you only got so much time. Don't waste time. Make the most of your time, right? And your words, you know, you can't get those back. Once you say them, they're out there. So you can use your words for good or for bad, right? So use your words for good. And then the last is opportunity. If you get an opportunity, don't sit back, man. Take it. That door opens, go through it. Because the last thing I want to do is sit back and go, man, what if? Man, what if I did that? Man, what if I would have tried this? And so I think that's a good one, especially for kids, like, they got more time than we do, especially as you get a little bit older. Yeah. But, time, your words. I wish I could take back some of my words, right? And then opportunity. And I still hope that there's more opportunity out there for me and for my family to do good things, to make a difference. And so those are kind of the things that I would leave your audience with and kind of the way that I live my life.
So I did some research, when I think about you as a man, you've already shown the passion. I think anybody listening can feel it, the determination, to accomplish whatever goal or dream or desire that you have. Like you went door to door as a chiropractor.
I was hunting, man. I was hunting.
I mean, that's amazing. So I'm searching online and I searched, give me a Bible verse that relates to someone who's striving for excellence, because you are, my friend group as I get older, and I think us three men sitting here recognize this, it gets a little smaller, right? Your family's is number one in the middle, and then you want to be around people that make you better, and you make me better, and I appreciate you. And when I searched striving for excellence, Colossians 3, verse 23 through 24 came up. It says, whatever you do, work at it with all your heart, as working for the Lord, not for human masters, since you know that you will receive an inheritance from the Lord as a reward. It is the Lord Christ you are serving. And I think that sums up you as a man. I think that sums up your life to this point. I think that, what's to come, we don't know, right? But what do I know about Matt Roberts? It don't matter. He's going to put his head down and he's going to go through that brick wall just like you did in high school, right? Just like you did in college, just like you did to have a successful practice. And, I am grateful to have you as a friend. I'm grateful for you to come on here. I know you're apprehensive about it, just like my wife was in last week's episode. And most people are as they come on here, but I hope that it's helped you, maybe just kind of reliving some of those things and looking at your life and thinking, you know what? I have done some pretty cool stuff, because as men, I don't think we do that. We just work, right? We work and we try to help people and we do it, all our daily stuff, and then we go to bed at night and we get up and we do it again the next day. So I hope that what you've got from this is that it's pretty cool to look back upon your life to this point, 46 years. Are you 46 yet?
Don't talk about my age. I think I'm 36. Yeah, I'm 46.
He's my age. We graduated together. Not you and Dan.
46. Yep.
No, I mean, I hope when you look up to this point that you're proud, because you should be. I know your parents are proud. I know your wife's proud. I know your daughters are proud. You're a good man, and I'm grateful for our friendship.
Well, I appreciate you having me on. I was a little apprehensive because didn't know whether I hope it helps somebody.
Yes.
And the other thing that I look at is if I'm going to sit up here and I'm going to say these things, I got to hold myself accountable to it.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean I'm going to be perfect, because I won't. I know that I'm not perfect. Never will be. But it's weird when you start to talk about these things. You got to go, okay, you look in the mirror. You're going to preach it. You're going to talk about it. You're going to talk about, hunting. You still got to hunt.
Yeah.
You talk about your faith. You better be a good example.
Yeah.
So I think in that sense, it definitely just getting it out there. It's going to be recorded, right? It's going to be on.
Yeah.
It's out
It's
there.
just the practice run, but it will be recorded after this.
Yeah. It's out there forever now, though, right?
Right.
So yeah. So I gotta look at it and go, okay, yeah. Stay accountable, man.
Yes, for sure, man. For sure. Appreciate you. Ben, you got anything?
Yeah, no, I didn't know any of your stories. So, I absolutely loved hearing it. And, one of the best days that I had was Life Surge. I was able to go with you and Jeff and Matt and I love getting the text, like the group message whenever we send it, you're a man of faith, which I really, it's what I want to be. That's why I strive to be. And I don't know. Every time you send a verse or something in the text group, I always love seeing it. So you talk about surrounding yourself with people you want to be like, and I just very grateful for you to coming on here and telling your story.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Appreciate you, man. And everybody, be sure to like and share and subscribe and do all those things. You know, there's so much to gain from Matt's story and his knowledge. So we appreciate that. And go out and be tempered.
Hi, my name is Allie Schmidt. This is my dad, Dan. He owns Catron's Glass.
Thanks, Allie. Things like doors and windows go into making a house, but when it's your home, you expect more, like the great service and selection you'll get from Catron's Glass. Vinyl replacement windows from Catron's come with a lifetime warranty, including accidental glass breakage replacement. Also ask for custom shower doors and many other products and services. Call 962-1636, locally owned with local employees for nearly 30 years.
Catron's Glass, the clear choice.